Hey, this is Melissa. I'm cleaning and setting up this Swedish favorite machine, FAVORIT. This one's from about 1917, and I wanted to show a few things that I will not be able to show when I'm showing knitting on this at the virtual crank-in, and then I'll do more videos after that. So anyway, while I'm looking, I figured you could too. This is a donut or a ring. It is for placement. It's wooden. It comes with the favorite. And what it's used for is when you're putting your needles in, you butt them up against that donut, and it provides spacing for the tappet plate, which really is the knitter. Okay, it's kind of a tappet, kind of a knitter, and that's what I wanted to show you now. The thing about this machine is that the tolerances are pretty tight, and so you need to get things where they're supposed to go, because there's not a lot of slop, as they say in the tool industry. So that comes out, and at that point you see these are all gathered around and they are ready for the knitter to go onto it. Now here's the top, and it has settings. This S here is what they'll call freewheeling in the translation that I've done it, and I'm going to show you what it does. And then these are knitting settings from loose to small. Okay, so when you have it here, it can just circle around without the needles going in and out of the course. And let's watch why. I'm going to take it out of the S. Okay, now flipping over, here's the knitter. Those of you that are used to circular machines, there's the V-cam. Okay, notice there are no pushy outy cams on the side. An interesting thing about this machine is that the needles only go back. They don't go out to get the yarn, and I think that's one of the reasons that we can knit in the purl position for so much longer. That and the downward and inward orientation of the knitting is why we can do that for so long. When we can't accomplish this many stitches, this is 96 needles, we can't accomplish this many stitches on our ribbers. But anyway, back to the Swedish machine. So let's watch what happens. I gotta keep orienting myself, okay? Let's watch what happens. So the needles would be traveling around, the little heels would be here, just around and around, freewheeling, okay? Around and around. But when I move, hang on, I gotta look. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. The needles would be going down and then up and then around and then back and around. But when I move that, let's watch to see what happens. Let's see if Melissa can figure out directions. Look, the V-cam, see there, went in, and now it can freewheel around, which is how it just freely, it'll go around without the needles knitting. This is what you use when you're going to cast on and you need that first length of yarn around the needles. They're stuck out, but you don't want them knitting yet. You want a whole length so that you can bring the casting on basket into it. Okay, now what else is here? So here we are in knitting position. Let's go back to knitting position, and let's go to L for loose or big. Okay, we're going to tighten it. And then I'm going to show you what happens to bring these out. You have to have it in knitting position, and you pull this little lever. Okay, there's your stitch freewheeling down here, and then stitch sides, and then the lever opposite it. And what does that do? We're knitting, around it goes, blah, 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 and around it goes, blah, blah, blah. And the heels are in here, okay? When I pull the other, look, did you see that? See it? What that's doing is it's forcing the needles to the heels, right here, or the butts, to go up here as they would normally, and normally they would go away. Normally they would go around and around and around and around and around and be activated by the V-cam. However, when this comes out, they get forced, because they're all here and they need to go out. They get forced up through here. And that's why you'll hear that ticking as they're popping the needles out, okay? Now, one other thing I want to show in this very, very brief demo, okay, or explanation, is this is the all-important lid B, okay? And I've got a little paper clip on mine because I had some bad needles and it was popping mine up, and I want to show you why that mattered to me. Let me move this just out of the way. I'm just going to loosen it. I may be able to dispense with this now that I've got new needles. I've worked without new needles for a long time. Okay, so when lid B is not in, you see the hole, okay? there's a gap there. And remember, the needles have to ride along, okay? Well, what's going to happen, take my word for it from experience, is they'll drift up into that hole because the knitting is pulling down and the hole is up above, and the needles will pop up and it'll jam. So when you put little Mr. B where he's supposed to be, no intentional play on words there, he finishes the path. Look, that's his job, is to finish that path and to keep it. It allows you access when you need to change one needle, then you take it off and you change a needle. Okay, you don't have to do all this rigmarole. But otherwise, you need this guy firmly in place, because otherwise you have broken the path of the needles and you will jam your machine. All right, I'm going to do it, and then I'll be knitting and getting ready for the crank in. Bye.